Hey, how's it going, everybody? Um, Travioli. It's been forever since I uploaded to YouTube, and I feel like I don't really owe an explanation or anything like that. But I think in the next coming weeks, I do want to make some more videos like this, kind of explaining um, where I left off, all the way up until this point. So I feel like there's a lot of experience and there's a lot of stories that I feel like should be told, um, not just like in an explanation per se, but more so like people might be able to learn from it. People might be able to take, you know, some value from what I would have to say. But today I wanted to bring up uh, a topic that I've been battling for a couple of years now. Um, and it's starting to take a bigger toll than it used to, for sure. And it sparked my interest to make a video talking about my personal experience because the other night, me and my wife, Katie, had um, pretty lengthy discussion about how I was feeling, and um, because she could tell, she can always tell when something's wrong with me, or if I'm upset, if I'm hurt, if I'm thinking, if you know me personally, you know that I really just think a lot. Like, I always just sit and stare and just think. And usually it's about, my stresses, my worries, my issues, things like that. Without further ado, I guess let's start the story. So I guess I'd like to start where I guess the big event that kind of started this snowball effect. Okay, so a couple weeks ago, um, it was my usual day. I just dropped off some lumber and picked up some lumber at a location down. Where was this? This was in Kirkwood, I do believe. And I was pulling out of the job site, and of course there was a parked car about probably 50 feet from where I had driven out of the job site. I just got my GPS going. I hit start to get the route going. Phone slipped out of my hand, and just like with anybody, you get that instinct to grab for it. Well, kind of did that. Took my eyes off the road for 2 seconds and hit the parked car. Um, you know that in itself was bad. That's a big mistake because I'm in a company vehicle. Luckily, nobody was in the car. Luckily, there was nobody on the road. I didn't hurt anybody. I didn't hurt myself. The only thing was I busted the passenger side headlight on my truck and completely destroyed the rear passenger, or sorry, rear driver's side tail light and bumper. It was a Honda, and just like with my Kia, like those things are just not built very well. So it did some damage, especially seeing as I was driving an F-350. So, but yeah, hit that. Immediately started freaking out, yelling "fuck," yelling. I was just so pissed because I knew what was gonna happen. I knew, the following steps. Like the rest of my day, like I just knew what was gonna happen. Well, after the accident, I called my dispatch first just to inform him as soon as I could. Told me to fill out the incident report that was in the glove box. Did that. Um, the carpenters at the job site were, like I said, within 50 feet. They saw and heard everything. Guy ran over. Oh, don't worry about it. I'll call the police. I'll get somebody out. It's like, okay, cool. So I didn't have to worry about that. After I finished filling out the incident report, I then uh, I got out. I wanted to, see what all happened. There was a neighbor that came out. I guess he heard it because it was practically right in front of his house. Um, and he was like, hey, are you okay? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we start looking and kind of tried to brush up all the, I guess it's just the plastic from the headlight and taillights getting busted out. We wanted to get that off the road so we didn't um, damage anybody's tires that were driving through or anything like that. Got all that cleaned up as best as we could. Sat there and talked. The guy said he didn't know whose car it was. It might have been his neighbor's and blah blah blah. So I was like, we'll just wait for the cop to get here. He'll, figure out whose car it is by the license plate, and we'll go from there. Well, cop finally comes. It was like 15 minutes later. It kind of was, pretty lengthy time before he got there. He shows up, wants to know, what happened. I tell him exactly what I just told you guys. Um, he didn't drug test me. He didn't give me a breathalyzer. Nothing like that. He didn't, because I wasn't under the influence of anything. I was, completely sober. I was fine. It was just, a stupid little mistake. Um, so after that, I went about my day, finished all my deliveries. I get back to work thinking, go to Tony's office, you're fired, that kind of thing. And it wasn't like that. Um, I went out again, finished another run, got back around like, 3:30 or 4. Tony had left, so I was like, okay, I guess I'll have to deal with this tomorrow. And this was a Thursday. Um, or no, that was, when was that? I think that was Wednesday. It was either Tuesday or Wednesday, because then, I came back to work and, or no, this was Thursday. I'm sorry. This is Wednesday. I can't, I'm sorry. Yeah, this was Wednesday. And then, Thursday rolls around and same thing, I just went about my business, did my job, no, still haven't talked to Tony or anything like that. But at the end of the day, Thursday, um, he gave me the sheet to go get drug tested. And that's when I knew I'm done. I didn't smoke that day. I didn't smoke that morning. I was completely sober, like I said. Um, but something that I didn't really know, and that, a lot of people might not think about, is that, weed stays in your system a lot longer than you would think. Whenever I looked it up, it was for, you know, daily users or heavy users, as it said, was like 30 to 45 days. And some people that were, the very heavy users could, I think it said something like up to 2 to 3 months. Like, it stays in your system a while. And of course, I had to take a urinalysis, so a piss test, which I knew I was going to fail. I knew that for sure. Um, but I took that, uh, and after that, like, I knew I was going to be fired, but at the same time, it took them a couple days for them to get the results, which was kind of weird. I mean, I've never had to do it, so obviously I don't know the time frame, but finally got the results. Failed. There was nothing that he could do. He was trying to um, communicate with HR to try and maybe put me in a different position, maybe suspend me for a little bit and then bring me back as, somebody else, because I couldn't drive, obviously. Like, once you do something like that, I mean, you're pretty well done with, driving and delivering and stuff like that. So, but, at the end of the day, he brought me in and was like, I'm sorry, there's nothing I could do. Uh, I got fired. And ever since then, it's been a pretty, uh, it's been a pretty intense emotional battle personally. Obviously, I've been dealing with anxiety and depression for a very long time. Uh, that's always been, an issue for me. But, the added stress of losing your full-time job that, paid very well, supported my family, supported, you know, this house, the food, Benjamin and Katie and myself. You know, when I lost that, I almost felt like, you know, my life was over. Like I felt like I was gonna lose it all. You know, I really did. I felt like I had finally had a grasp on my life. I was turning things around. I started eating healthy with Katie on Weight Watchers. You know, we were going on walks. You know, it just felt like everything was starting to, you know, finally um, become stable. And then that happened. And as cliche as it sounds, like it really did rock my world. Like it was devastating, you know. And you know the emotions that I went through, it went from, you know, being sad because, you know, I feel like I let everybody down, and then I would get pissed off at myself because I made the mistake. I failed myself, you know. You know, with that comes the anxiety, the stress, the depression, um, all these different emotions. And like I said, ever since that happened, it's been such a it's been a roller coaster. You know, some nights I'm scared to go to sleep. Like I don't want to go to sleep because I feel like, you know, I go to sleep and I forget about it, but then when I wake up, it all just rushes right back to my brain. You know, it's like it just restarts, and it's overwhelming. Like the second I wake up, I look around and I'm, you know, thinking, you know, you don't really think it, but you know, in the back of your mind, you're like, I'm at home, I'm safe. My wife's right next to me, my baby's asleep in the other room, and then I start thinking, oh yeah, I don't have a job, I'm unemployed, I don't have an income, and that's very stressful, especially as a parent now. I'm not trying to, you know, it's not, you know, woe is me, but it's um, more just, it's stressful. That's just like the best way to describe it. And I wanted to, you know, talk about those emotions, you know, separately. So when I say that I'm sad, what I mean by that is, you know, I feel like since I started working, uh, I've been what's called a job hopper. So, you know, my first job being McDonald's, you know, I was on the fryers, and then, you know, moved to, you know, making the sandwiches, cooking the burgers and the nuggets, you know, all that kind of stuff when I was 16. From there, uh, I got a job at Sam's Club, which was a lot of fun working in the tobacco cage. Um, and then from Sam's Club, I actually went through a temp service. I was an office clerk for Citigroup, which was like, you know, you're on the very bottom. You're basically just doing whatever anybody needed you to do, whether it was like make 1,000 copies of this, print this, that, organize this, and uh, you know, I'm just saying like I kind of just went, you know, job to job, and it's been very sporadic with the types of jobs. I haven't like been in one type of industry for a very long time until Mercy rolled around working in healthcare, and that was, you know, only 2 years there. And then with Great Central, you know, delivering the lumber, that was a year and a month. So um, my point is I feel like I've been in I've been letting myself down over those years without even realizing it. You know, I feel like if I could have just focused and figured out where I fit, I could have been spending those years bettering myself. I could have been improving. I could have been um, getting consistent, stable experience in one field that, when you put that on your resume that you've been in this company for 5 years, and then you move to a different company in the same industry and you're there for 5 years, that looks good. For me, it's like I had 6 months here, I had 3 months here, I had a year here, I had 2 years there, and like I feel like I don't even want to submit my resume to these companies that I want to work for because they look at it and they're like, we don't want to hire you. You're probably going to be here for 5 months and then be interested in something totally different. So, um, feeling that, I did that to myself, that really is my fault. And I feel like I let myself down. I feel like I failed myself. I didn't um, do what I should have done. Um, and, not only does that affected me for so long, but now that I'm married, that affects Katie. Like, I failed her. I let her down. I'm not successful for her. And now that I'm a parent, the next layer is, I failed Benjamin. I let him down. And, for somebody that's not a parent, that might sound goofy that, oh, he's only a year old. Like, he doesn't necessarily understand it. But, like, as a parent, if you are, you know how that feels. Like, you almost feel like he could sense what's going on. And that's how I feel. Like, I feel like when he looks at me sometimes, he's communicating like telepathically, like, Dad, you really screwed up, you know, and that hurts. It may not be a real thing. He may not understand it, but to me, he can. And like I said, that just sucks. Just feeling like you failed yourself, you failed your kid, your wife, your husband, whatever. Um, just feeling like a failure, bottom line. And that's where the sadness comes in. You know, and with that, all of that just causes so much stress. And for me, my stress always feels like I'm giving a 600-pound dude a piggyback ride. Like, I feel like there's always just so much weight, like my shoulders. Like, I feel like I slouch more when I'm stressed. I feel like I can't breathe when I'm stressed. I wouldn't say I like hyperventilate or anything like that, but I really do have difficulty breathing when I'm very stressed out. Like, even right now, I'm really nervous making this video because I'm talking about stuff that I want to forget. I don't want to sit here and relive this crap. It sucks. Um, but anyway, yeah. So my stress causes me to feel weighted down. It makes me feel like I can't breathe. I can't focus. I shake. Um, in the past few days, I've noticed that. Like, that's never happened to me in the past. Like, my hands shake. I feel like I'm not like solid. I feel like I'm very hollow, and I feel like I'm not as strong physically or emotionally, obviously, when I'm stressed. And that makes it very hard to push on and be motivated and determined to, turn this situation around. Um, the next thing I wanted to talk about, aside from the stress and the sadness, is my anger. Um, because my anger is projected at, a couple different areas. First and foremost, I'm very, 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 very pissed off at myself because I let this happen. And like I was saying before with all my previous jobs, I let that stuff happen. Like, that's all my fault. Like, I was in control and I let things get out of hand. I let things go the wrong way. That's 100% my fault. I have complete responsibility for that. And it's embarrassing. Like, I don't want to have responsibility for that because it makes me look like an idiot. Um, so I'm mad that, you know, I put myself in this situation. I'm mad that I couldn't be better. I couldn't do better. I couldn't do a better job. Uh, and then on the same note, you know, I'm mad that I was fired due to the drug screen. They didn't necessarily care about the accident itself. Like, obviously they do. They care, you know, that was anybody hurt? No. So, you know, that made it better, but like at the same time, like if I would have passed the drug test, I'd probably still be working there, you know? Um, but it's just the fact that, you know, I wasn't high. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't under the influence of anything. It was just a stupid little mistake. But the fact that, you know, weed stays in your system for much longer, um, in your urine, that's why I was fired. And I'm mad about that because I feel like weed has been the medicine that's finally been able to combat my depression and anxiety. Not as a crutch. I don't want that to get confused. Like, I wouldn't use, you know, any substance as a crutch, but I know 100% that it's helped so much, like medicinally, like not prescribed or anything, because, you know, Missouri's still illegal, but um, don't have like any medical marijuana or anything like that. But that's how it's helped me. It's helped my mood. It's helped combat my anxiety and depression. It just helps. Um, it just helps me have a level head, you know. Um, but so, I'm just getting off topic. But yeah, I'm mad that I've finally found something that helps, but it's illegal. Like, as stupid and childish as that sounds, like I know how goofy that sounds, but seriously, like I'm pissed off that I can't use, you know, something that really helps me. It 100% helps me. But in the same hand, I could take 10 pills that completely numb my brain. They destroy myself. Like I feel like pills, these like psychotic pills or whatever they're called, the antidepressants, you know, all that stuff, like it just numbs the pain. It doesn't help. It doesn't do anything but hurt me. It's almost like a poison. Like, that's the way I look at it. But that's acceptable alongside alcohol. Alcohol is acceptable. Granted, if I was drunk and hit a car, like it's same situation, probably even worse. But at the same time, like it's socially acceptable to drink my pain away, but I can't medicate myself through marijuana, which is just, it just doesn't make sense with like a lot of politics and policies and laws and things like that. As I get older, I'm still like just disagreeing all the time that I just don't feel like I belong. You know, I feel like nothing in life ever really makes sense to me. Um, yeah, I feel like I just keep getting off topic. So that's the anger. I mean, I'm only really mad at myself and the fact that I can't smoke to help myself. Um, and lastly, the depression, which is probably the worst thing I'm going through right now. I remember when I was younger, I think I was in between fourth and fifth grade, or it might have been third and fourth. I don't remember exactly. I think it was 2003 or four, when this happened. But when my parents got divorced, I was too young to necessarily be affected by it per se, like to be completely affected by it. Um, but I was still hurt. I think deep down I was hurt, but on the outside, like, I didn't really understand it. And by that, I mean, when my parents got divorced, I remember that, or like even beforehand, like when they fought, there were some nights where me and my brother Zach would stay up till like 11 midnight watching cartoons like G.I. Joe and these anime shows that we would watch. And I didn't want to go to sleep because I knew when I woke up, my dad wasn't going to be there. And when I was a kid, like, and for any young boy, like, I feel like your dad is like your hero. He's the rock. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not the rock, but like, he's the rock of the house. Like, he's the anchor, the strength. That's how I viewed my dad and any father figure. I feel like that's pretty common for a little boy to think. Um, like I said, I didn't want to go to sleep because I felt like when I woke up, he wasn't going to be there, and that broke my heart. And I don't blame my mom. I don't blame my dad or anything like that. Like, it is what it is. But that's just what I was going through, and I feel like that depression is coming back. Like, it's starting to um, show its face again. Um, like the other night, I was literally terrified to go to sleep. I was tired. I really was. I could have fallen asleep just laying down, but I kept pacing in our bedroom here, and because I didn't want to lay down and go to sleep. I was terrified because I knew I was going to wake up and feel the guilt and the sadness and the anger the second I opened my eyes. Um, and that's just, to me, like, I don't know. It's so hard to convey, like, with words, like, the feeling. But like, what I mean by I was terrified was I just felt so empty and so nervous and shaky and cold and lonely and so distant and just depressed. Like, that's probably the best way I could describe it. Is I felt so not myself at all. I felt so weak and so sad that I was terrified to go to sleep. And you know, on top of that, with my depression, you know, I think about suicide probably more than, I mean, I say probably more, like, definitely more than I should ever even, like, want to. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think about it more than I should, for sure. Like, I feel like with anybody with deep depression or anxiety has, probably thought about it, or has, entertained the ideas, some people would say. But when I think about it, it's more so I feel like maybe people would be better off without me around. Like, it's more like I feel like I'm more of a burden to people, um, more than anything, even to myself. Like, I feel like I just keep putting myself in these crappy situations, and then I sulk about it because I'm sad and I'm upset and I'm hurt that I'm in this situation. But it's like, I put myself here, so I'd be better off without myself. And that's kind of like, that's where I get worried about it, because I feel like that's such a weird thing to think about. I feel like when somebody's depressed enough to think about suicide, they think like, the world would be better off without me. But like for me, like I do think that, but I also think like I would be better off without me. Like I don't even belong to myself, let alone I feel like I don't belong here. I don't deserve what I have. I don't deserve where I'm at. I work my ass off, but I still just keep ruining things for myself. Um, and it sucks. It really, 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 really sucks. I feel like I'm like caged. I feel like I'm not myself. I'm not strong. I feel like I'm not uh, smart enough to figure out what I'm supposed to do, where I'm supposed to be, where I fit in. I feel like my life isn't even mine. Like I feel like and this is like another topic for discussion, but I'll brush up on like what I mean by that. Like I feel like my life isn't mine, and I got that from Logic's 1-800 song. If you guys have heard that, he says, I feel like my life ain't mine. Who can relate? I definitely can relate 100% to that. I feel like all my life I've just been working away, and I've just been putting myself through so much shit, and I haven't been able to um, do what makes me happy. I haven't really been able to um, pursue things that you know add happiness to my life, other than getting married and having my son. Those are the two things that have made me happy, and those are two things that I've wanted to do. So I mean, I'm successful in that, but when it comes to like my working life, I feel like I've just been slaving away for somebody for no reason. Like, you need an income. I totally understand that, obviously. But at the same time, like, I feel like my life really isn't mine. And once again, like, I'm to blame for that. That's 100% my fault. I didn't focus enough when I was in school. I didn't go to college right out of high school, which I could have. I toured AI. I could have pursued that, but the worry of money is literally the quote unquote root of all evil for me. Like that's what stopped me from going to AI in the first place, was thinking, well, someday I'm gonna owe somebody a crap ton of money, and I don't know if I'm gonna have that money, and I didn't want to risk that, so I didn't go. And instead, I've been slaving away since I was 16. So that's 9 years, going on 10 years. 10 years of my life has been slaved away for jobs that haven't really gotten me much further. I've made more money like from job to job. Like, I've left this job to get $1 more. I've left this job for $2 more, whatever. Um, which is good. Money's good. You need it. But I feel like over the course of those 9 years, like you don't think about it, but it's definitely affected me as it is now. Like I feel like my depression and my anxiety have such a firm hold on me, and I feel like I'm drowning, and that anxiety and depression are these cement shoes that are just pulling me and pulling me and pulling me down, 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 and keeping me under and keeping me from, you know, bursting out of the water and getting a fresh breath of air. I'm trying to focus. I'm trying to stay positive. I'm trying my best to just look at what I do have. I do have my beautiful wife. I have my beautiful, funny, and he's, my son is just literally something else. Like he truly motivates me so much. Just the thought of his smile makes me want to just succeed and just keep going, and to not look back, and to not worry, not stress. but it really is just so difficult to focus and to keep pushing. But I think that that's really all I really had to say. I don't want this to come across as like I said, woe is me, but um, I just, I want to be here for people that feel the same. And for anybody that's even, you know, maybe somebody's been so sad as to think something, and maybe them being able to relate in any way to how I feel might make them feel wanted or make them feel like they're not lost or that they don't belong. There's other people that feel the same exact way. I don't expect people to understand or, expect people to have felt the same way, but if you've ever been, suffering from extreme anxiety or depression or anything like that, and you feel like you can't have a grasp on your own life, like that's just how I feel right now. And I hope that that confides in somebody and somebody can take something from this video and, you know, just try to stay positive and, friends and family are what keep me going. Katie and Benjamin are literally the reason why I'm not dead right now. And I mean that with sincerity. And, obviously my family also helps me more than I could ever imagine. And, I want to be there for them too. But now that I have my own family, they truly mean the universe to me. And like I said, I hope this helps somebody. I hope it helps anybody. And if it does, please comment. I want to talk to people. I want to hear maybe what some other people are doing, what some people, like what helps you, what keeps you going, like what motivates you, what combats your anxiety and depression, like what are some, like, do you meditate, exercise, do you talk? I mean, just literally, like anybody, just please comment, and I want to hear what everybody has to say. But to Benjamin and Katie, I love you too so much. I love you both with all my heart. And to my mom and my brother Zach and Cy and my aunt and uncle and Darian and Samantha, like all of you and all my friends, Sean, Ricky, TK, Ruben, all you guys have been there for me. And I'm so grateful to have such great friends, such loving family, such supportive family. I just want you guys to know that I'm sorry that I screw up. I'm sorry that I keep screwing up. I really am trying to change my life, and I'm so done with failure. I'm so done with coming up empty-handed and disappointing. Like I'm trying to change my life. I'm trying to turn it around, and your love and support is doing nothing but motivate and get me out of bed in the morning. And I'm so grateful for you guys. I love all of you. I love everybody. I'll talk to you guys later.